debate. Moving forward, I would like to call Ms. Pinda Ker Shishas Aim to deliver the welcome speech.
Good evening, everyone. I, Pindakir Shisha Ars Aim, on behalf of the members of the Hills Youth Collective, welcome everyone to the state-level political parties debate here at Malki Sports Ground. I take this opportunity to welcome the moderator of this debate, Mr. Sanjay Hazarika. Mr. Sanjay Hazarika is a renowned researcher, analyst, columnist, documentary filmmaker, and writer whose expertise has made him one of the country's best-known faces and commentators on the issues before the Northeast. Thank you, sir, for consenting to be the moderator. I also take this time to welcome our special invitees and representatives of various political parties and everyone here today. Thank you. A lot of you, I think, may wonder, what is this Hills Youth Collective? Who are these people? Where do they come from? And I think some of you have even Googled about us. So I'll talk a little about the Hills Youth Collective. We are a group of concerned and like-minded youths of Meghalaya from diverse backgrounds who want to promote a culture of healthy debate and public discussion for the holistic development of the state of Meghalaya and of all its citizens, as we see that this culture is largely missing in the society. We intend to have these kind of debates and discussions not only for elections, but we also plan to continue this with other significant issues that surround our society and northeastern region as a whole, such as gender issues, environment, migration, and so on. Coming to why we wanted to have the state-level political parties debate, it is honestly painful and extremely disturbing for us youths to see the impact of freebies and money on elections. A manifesto is something that most voters aren't even familiar with, let alone what plans the preferred party has for the state of Meghalaya. We wanted to organize this first ever public forum where political parties can come and share their manifestos and present their roadmap so we can understand the party, so we can understand the plans the party has, because political parties play a crucial role in the democratic process where their principles, ideology, and directions, especially those of the ruling party, to a large extent influence the policies and governance of the state. This event seeks to make the people of Meghalaya aware of the agenda of the political parties contesting the upcoming state assembly elections in order that they vote carefully for the betterment of the state and society and not be influenced by other unethical electoral practices. So this evening, keeping our purpose to promote this culture of healthy debate, let us create a safe space where we can freely and respectfully express our thoughts, voice our concerns, and exchange perspectives. At the end of the day, it is not you versus me or us versus them, but it is about coming together to share our visions, our ideas for the overall growth of the state and its citizens. Once again, I welcome each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pirak. Moving forward, I request the coordinator to present a bouquet to our moderator as a token of appreciation. Now, without any further delay, I now call upon the speaker from different political parties and hand over the floor to Mr. Sanjay Hazarika. Sir, if you may.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Kuble, Mitala. Good evening again. Panelists, audiences, supporters of parties, television audiences, from here and across Meghalaya, wherever you are in the world. And welcome to this public debate among political parties in Meghalaya, a state unique in many respects, its beauty, diversity, and also its challenges. And through this debate, I hope, we all hope, it will set a trend for which can be emulated elsewhere. My name is Sanjay Hazarika, as you've heard. I'm a writer and a researcher. I was born in Shillong. I studied at St. Edmunds. Anybody from St. Edmunds here? Anyone? No? Yes? Be brave. Put up your hands. Okay. I won't say the year I was, but anyway. But I'm delighted to be here. And while thanking our honorable speakers for joining us, I'd like you all, us all, to put our hands together for the Hills Youth Collective and for its young leadership and volunteers who've organized this program in a very short space. Our thanks are also due to the Deputy Commissioner of the East Khasi Hills District, the SP of the East Khasi Hills District, to the Malkita Bashnong, and the Secretary, Malki Sports Club. This is also being broadcast live by ML Live. For the audience and for again the speakers, briefly I want to walk through the process of the debate before we kick off. I would also request all of you, those on stage and off stage, to switch off your phones or put them on silent. Otherwise, that's always, I know you're all very busy and important people, but it might disturb the person next to you. And in no particular order, because this may not be the order in which you'll speak, I'd like to introduce the speakers. And I'm delighted that essentially you have many young politicians here. You know, this is really encouraging to see. So from the NPP, Ms. Bajop, Pyngrope, Secretary and Spokesperson, and also of the NP Youth Front. He's also a sitting member of the District Council. So I'd like you to welcome them. From the Indian National Congress, the local Malki boy, Manuel Badwar, candidate for the East Shillong Assembly constituency. From the All India Trinamool Congress, Mr. Bansharailang Pyngrope, State President of the TMC Students' Union with a Master's in Political Science. From the United Democratic Party, UDP, Mr. Allantry Dkhar, Vice President of the State Unit, and for the UDP for Meghalaya. Thank you for that. And finally, Batskhem Myrboh, spokesperson of the Voice of People Party, the new kid on the block, although Dr. Myrboh is not a kid. And he teaches at Synod College. He's a columnist and a member of the Academic Council at NEHU as the college teachers representative. The BJP was invited but could not attend. So thank you all for agreeing to be part of the debate. So for all of you, and because the speakers have been briefed yesterday, let me just set out the ground rules so that you understand. There'll be a first round of 5 minutes each. There will be a short alarm at the end of 4 minutes, which will alert you that the time is coming up, and then a 5-minute either a blast of music or another alarm when we expect you to wrap up. I know it's very short, 5 minutes. We were told yesterday. It's very short, but if anybody can wrap it up and lick it in 5 minutes, it's a politician. Okay. There'll be a second round when you will be able to respond to each other. And I would urge you to only pick 1 or 2 points, because that's also going to be 3 minutes, where you can rebut statements made or assertions made. Then comes the moderator, my turn with my questions, and each speaker will have 3 minutes to respond to each question. There'll be a final round of questions from invitees and the audience, and if there is time, there'll be a last round of comments for the speakers, if there's time, because I know all of you have to rush to your next election meeting and other assignments. For the questions from the audience, please put them on chits. There'll be a volunteer near you We'll try and accommodate as many as possible, but I'll ask Pinda to read the rules for the debate, because apart from following the model code of conduct set by the Election Commission and desisting from personal attacks, will you just come and read that for a moment so that the audience gets a respite from me?
This is the debate rules and guidelines. All candidates shall adhere to the relevant provisions of the Model Code of Conduct issued by the Election Commission of India while speaking at the event. Special emphasis shall be made on the following by the moderator. 1. No speaker shall include in their speech any expression which may aggravate existing differences or create mutual hatred or cause tension between different castes and communities, religious or linguistic. Criticisms of other political parties when made shall be confined to the policies and program, past record and work. Speakers shall refrain from criticism of all aspects of private life not connected with the public activities of the leaders or workers of other parties. Criticisms of other parties or their workers based on unverified allegations or distortion shall be avoided. And the last one, there shall be no appeal to caste or communal feelings for securing votes. I hope that's clear. Thank you.
So having welcomed all of you and setting out the ground rules for the discussion, I must regret one thing, that this is a Manuel. There is no woman representative. And in a matrilineal society, I think it's important that women are represented even in political discussions. And I hope in future we'll have a more gender representative panel, shall we say. So we go straight to the opening round, and we start with the NPP. Mr. Pitt.
At the outset, I would like to congratulate Hills Youth Collective for hosting such an important debate for all the voters of our beloved state, Meghalaya. I would like to thank the entire team, the organizers, and also the moderator, Mr. Sanjoy Hazarika, representing the only homegrown national party, the National People's Party, the only national party in the entire northeastern India, the NPP. I am proud to be part and parcel of the NPP family, for it has guided me as a youth leader in so many angles as a politician. Coming to form the government in 2018, leading the MDA government as the largest party in the coalition, there were so many criticisms from so many angles that this government will not even last for 1 year. But having a dynamic leader like Honorable Chief Minister, our National President of the NPP, Conrad K. Sangma, hold the coalition strong till it ends its 5-year tenure. The party which has formed the government has taken so many important issues where other political parties have not taken since we have achieved our statehood since 1972. The long, contentious interstate boundary issue, this political party has taken up. Out of 12 areas of differences, 6 areas have been taken up in the phase 1, and the MOU have been signed between the 2 states and the government of India. This issue which no political party has taken up since our statehood. The people of the state, the people especially residing in the borders area, will surely give their support for the NPP this time. Recently in the news column also I've given my statement that all the constituencies that are in these border areas the NPP will win all these constituencies. And coming to the youths especially, where media houses, misinterpretation of facts has taken place, where they have said that the NPP has done nothing for the youths. So many flagship programs have been taken up under the leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister, Conrad K. Sangma. The Prime Program, the Aspire Meghalaya, the Music Grassroots Program, the Luxury Tourist Vehicle Programs, the Homestays Program. And under this government, it has created a record 4,097 kilometers of PMGSY road have been constructed in the rural areas of Meghalaya. With all these achievements, I am confident as the Secretary of the National People's Party that the people of Meghalaya will once again bestow trust and confidence on our party. Our party has fielded 57 candidates all over the state. Our party has the presence in all constituencies. We have selected strong candidates, and my appeal to all my friends, to all my viewers in the media, in the social media, come 27 February, please vote for the National People's Party and press the button on the symbol of the book, the National People's Party. Thank you.
He still has a minute, doesn't he? You still have a minute left.
No, I'm okay with it.
You're okay. So you're giving your time to somebody else, which is quite delightful for a political. Okay, the next speaker is Dr. Myrboh, who is from the Voice of the People's Party. Your priorities, please.
Okay.
For the heart.
Thank you, the Hills Youth Collective and the moderator, for this opportunity to be present here and express our priorities before the electorate of Meghalaya. VPP is a party that is committed to clean politics, and another issue that we are committed is the protection of the interests of the indigenous people without undermining the rights of the other communities. We are a party that believes in substantive democracy, where the political leaders and the government should not engage with the people only during elections seeking votes, but we should engage with the people post-election. We believe that wisdom and knowledge does not necessarily reside only with the government, but with the people. And therefore, to make the democracy truly democratic, we have to ensure the people's participation even post-election. And we are committed to Article 38 and 39 of the Indian Constitution, based on the principle of equity and fairness in the society. And therefore, we are committed to ensure that the educational institutions of the government, as well as the health care facilities of the government, are reaped by the people. These institutions, these facilities should be made to deliver services, because it is the poor that depend on these welfare activities of the people, of the government. And we are committed to the issue of landlessness among the rural household, which this has been flagged long time back, but no political party has taken this issue, and we are committed to conduct a cadastral survey as well as to enact the land sailing law. We also believe, and we are committed to create jobs in the state through a number of ways, which in fact we go to the basics, like agro-based industries, proper and micromanaging the tourism sector, create conducive environment for private investment, but for this, we need a very strong rule of law, where nepotism, arbitrariness, and lawlessness has to be arrested. And we also believe that in order to make the state progressive, in order to make the state accountable to the people, we have to ensure that the government performs to the optimum. And for this, we need fair recruitment in the government. And therefore, we are committed to ensure that the MPSC and all the recruitment bodies in the state are insulated from the political interference, and also even in the composition of these bodies needs to be reworked. And we believe that we have also seen, and this is the ISO for the people of the state, especially for the youth, that nepotism is very powerful in our state, and we want to ensure that a personal interview for Group C and Group D recruitment is done away with. And to make our economy strong, we need to stress on those sectors that we can export to the other parts of the country and even to outside the country, because unless and until our economy is strong and vibrant, we cannot create jobs and we cannot give security to the people. And therefore, we need to strengthen those sectors. And we need not only to export goods, but we need to export talent from our state. We believe that this has been long neglected in our state, the environment, and as a party, we are committed to ensure that springs, ponds, lakes, rivers, and all the water bodies that are available in plenty in our localities, in our towns and villages, should be preserved, and this can be done through collaboration with the local bodies. And we also, because we try to go to the basic as far as possible, and in order to ensure that water problem in our city and other parts of the state is mitigated, we need to harvest rainwater also. We need to stop illegal mining. This illegal mining we need because for two reasons. One is to prevent the revenue leakage and also to protect our environment. We need to strengthen the revenue collection in the state. Without this, the government will, whatever it does in the future, it will have to depend on loans. And therefore, we need to prevent revenue leakage, and we have to ensure that those recommendations taken or given by the CAG from time to time, they need to be properly heeded. And in this way, we feel that we can generate revenue for the state, and we can also not only generate but prevent the wastage of public money that we have seen in the state, that we have been wasting from time to time. For example, making political appointments that eats up the revenue.
I'm going to ask you to wrap up.
Okay, that eats up the economy of the state up to the crores and crores of rupees. And we are organizing the useless festivals, useless foreign tours, and then post-retirement appointments of those officers that are favored by the government. And also we want to, here, since the time is too limited, we want to ensure that the traffic management in Shillong is done. And this can be done through the development of satellite towns outside Shillong. Because we believe that Shillong problem needs Shillong solution, not the imported solution. Thank you.
You've covered, both of you have covered a whole range of issues which will come up in the Q&A and in the other areas that we'll be covering. Now it's time for the All India Trinamool Congress to lay the cards on the table.
My heartiest greetings to all. I am delighted to be part of this discussion today. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Hills Youth Collective who have organized this honorable debate this evening. I feel that this debate is especially relevant at this time since elections are just a few weeks away. I have been associated with the Meghalaya TMC for more than a year now, and it has been extremely engaging and fulfilling experience. Ever since Meghalaya TMC set foot in the state, we have tirelessly worked for the people of the state. Since the very beginning, our mission has been to bring an all-round progressive and holistic development in the state of Meghalaya. People's support for our party has grown since they've seen the vision that we have for the state. And in less than a year, our party has grown to have more than 1 lakh members, active members. And it shows that the party has connected with the people. To empower the women in our state, we have launched the Meghalaya Financial Inclusion for Women Empowerment scheme. This scheme ensures or guarantees 1,000 rupees income support to all women in every household. More than 3.5 lakh people, more than 3.5 lakh households have registered for the V card, which shows that the people in our state believe in the vision that the TMC has for the state. And for the youth, who form the majority of the population, we have launched the Meghalaya Youth Empowerment Card, which guarantees 3 lakh jobs in the next 5 years. Through the My Card, we also guarantee an allowance of 1,000 rupees per month to every youth, unemployed youth between the age of 21 to 40. And I am overwhelmed that more than 4 lakh youths across the state have registered for the My Card. In this journey of 1 year plus, we have always stood with the people of the state, and we have exposed this incumbent government for all the blatant disregard that they've done to the aspirations of the people. Recently, taking our mission to bring the welfare of Meghalaya forward, our AITC parliamentary leader, Mr. Derek O'Brien, brought up pertinent issues regarding have brought up pertinent issues in the parliament. And I believe no other political party in the country has taken such a strong stand when it comes to these issues, which are the aspirations of the people of the state. We as the party, we are geared towards upholding Meghalaya's culture and to celebrate our diverse traditions and to empower all the people of our state. Our manifesto clearly shows the vision that we have for the state of Meghalaya. We have a vision for every sector to transform and revamp the education and the healthcare sectors, to boost the economy of our state, to make sure that all the civic amenities are reached to all the people in the state, to protect the indigenous rights at all costs, and to make sure that no decision is made without the consensus of the people. That is why we as a party, we have made sure and we have vowed that all our energy will go towards ensuring that we will bring a government that will ensure peace, progress, and prosperity in our beautiful state by uniting all the people of our beautiful state in glorious welfare.
Thank you. Again, very interesting points, but there seem to be a lot of freebies being announced, and which is a long manifesto, 61-page manifesto that you have. I read it last night. The others are not, maybe 1/3 of that size, but it's an interesting set of promises. Let's see what happens. Now, we turn to the local boy, the candidate for Here and Now, Mr. Manuel, of the Indian National Congress.
Good evening, all. Thank you, sir. I've read one of your books. Yeah, only one. And it's a very eye-opener for me. And probably I've learned a lot from that book that I've read. I've brought that book here, and I need you to autograph it later. Thank you, Hills Youth Collective, for arranging this debate today. I'll stick to only a few things about what the Congress is about and what the Congress wants to do. And I think the people ought to know, after everything is said and done, and after the dust has settled since the election time has come, I leave it for the people to judge exactly whether the good things has happened or the bad things has happened over the past many years, and especially in the past 5 years. But a few things that really strike the Congress as such per se is the fact that the health care system has deteriorated to a very large extent. And I believe so that the healthcare is the most important and integral part of any family's life. And from the Congress perspective, we've had many debates on this. And believe it or not, we do believe that free healthcare for all citizens is a right that every human in this state has. And I think the Congress is committed to that. While you might say it's just a freebie, but it's an important freebie to give. And I think from a Congress perspective, that is very important. The other thing that also impacts 60% of our population in the state is the farmers. And till today, minimum support price is still the thing that we just talk about, and nobody has even dared to implement it. And I think it is a challenge for the Congress that if we do get a chance, that minimum support price will be one of the priorities that we take. The other thing that we talk about, especially the children and the education for the young children, I think it's mandatory that children get free education at least till class 12. And I think this is a very important thing, because without education, I don't think so our state and our country will be built. And with the fact that there's enough rise in cost of living and enough rise in the daily needs of our people, I think free education is something which is extremely important. Talk about a very sensitive issue, I think, which has been started by the Congress nearly a year back, when we started harping so much about unemployment. And I think even my friend here also was still there with the Congress, in fact, on both sides. Unemployment is a big issue. Unemployment is an extremely big issue, and the problem is that the more educated you are, the more unemployed you are. And I think we need to tackle this issue in a very different way. The fact that we need to think out of the box and understand the different technologies that exist today is very critical for us to embrace it and to take our state forward. Till now, I have never seen. I've seen a lot of exhibitions and so on and so forth, but believe it or not, it has never trickled down to the grassroots level entrepreneurs. And I believe that grassroots level entrepreneurs need not come with fancy things like prime hubs where you have very expensive chairs to even sit on. But I think grassroots level entrepreneurs needs to be given a chance and needs to be shown the way as to how he can build their businesses. Other things that are also important from the perspective of the Congress is that with the cost of living rising, I think even LPGs also need to be relooked. The cost of LPG is increasing. People have again gone back to olden ways of cooking. So I think it is extremely important to care about the environment. It's just not about giving freebies, but to ensure that at least the penetration of LPG gas cylinders reach every nook and corner of the state. The other thing is, since the press is a very important and integral part of the fourth pillar of our democracy, believe it or not, the press people are not paid well enough. And the press people, especially after serving so much to improve the democratic setup of the state, I think even the press people also needs to be looked at. And most importantly, I think in terms of power, we as a state are deficit on power. And if you look at the future of where the country is moving, by 2035, 50% of the vehicles will have to be electrified. And by 2050, 100% of vehicles will be sold that will be electrified. We as a state will not be able to sustain that growth. We as a state, we're having big trouble with when that time comes. So I think we need to look at that from a perspective of how we need to strengthen our future, and we need to look 25 years ahead and ensure that electrification is something which is very, very critical. And even our education, even in today's world, if you go to polytechnics and so many other places, we still talk about mechanical engineering. We still talk about, the workshops are still, a combustion engine is still the rule of the day. But this is going to change extremely fast. And with this change, I think the government needs to start looking in that direction as well. And we as a Congress is committed on those grounds. And with those few words, I thank you so much.
Thank you for raising those very important points, especially health and education. and the power deficit and the issues of the MSP. Those are absolutely critical, and I hope that your fellow panelists will reflect on them as on the other points. Now we come to the final panelist speaker from the UDP. Sir, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. My heartiest congratulations to the Hills Youth Collective for organizing this program. And I take this opportunity to thank all those involved for having enabled this panel discussion debate to move on. Well, I represent the United Democratic Party, which is an offspring of the Hill State movement, which dates back to the 6th of July 1960. It is the ever growing and ongoing efforts of our leaders in the past and of the present that is trying to unify the state by unifying the regional political forces that has brought about the amalgamation of 3 regional parties in the year 1997 that led to the birth of United Democratic Party. The United Democratic Party believes in working towards sustainable development as opposed to the offering of freebies. It is guided by the 3 cornerstones in its endeavor to serve the state by providing a government that is clean and corruption-free, effective and result-oriented, fair and impartial towards all its citizens. We had the opportunity to lead the government way back in 1998, and we had the distinction of being awarded the best financially managed state by the then government of India, and our then finance minister, Mr. Aubrey Scott Lingdor, was given the best finance minister award in the country. This speaks volumes for the party and goes to show, and I believe that if one was to file an RTI over the past records of the government of Meghalaya, you will find that the state has been well managed financially during the regime led by the regional parties. That is why we strongly believe that fiscal health is the key enabling factor that will help Meghalaya take on a growth trajectory that is beneficial for its people. The party stands for unity of purpose and vision for all citizens, development with a mission for inclusive growth, peace, ensuring safety and security for all sections of society. The party believes in visionary and decisive leadership, good governance with political and administrative accountability, growth in all sectors. To bring about the desired changes which are the aspirations of the people, UDP is for a healthy Meghalaya. Therefore, healthcare is topmost priority to provide equitable and affordable healthcare, upgrade infrastructural development and improve efficiency of medical personnel across the state, reducing maternal and infant mortality by setting up prenatal and postnatal care centers, provision of mandatory immunization and vaccination via routine health camps, increase in health cover under MHIS, diagnostic centers at subdivisional and district headquarters, eradication of drug abuse. Apart from that, education, which is the prime requirement for a healthy state, we intend to facilitate the constitution of an education commission to streamline the sector with an objective to bring about quality education, security of services for teachers, uniformity of the different categories of educational institutions, ensure maximum enrollment to arrest the rate of dropouts, and working towards changes in line with the NEP. Over and above that, we have focused on agriculture, where our endeavor to introduce minimum support price will be there. We are also focusing on tourism, holistic economic growth, youth empowerment. And in order to be able to do this, fiscal health, urban governance, social security, rural development, employment, power, mining, influx and language are to be addressed as at the earliest possible in order to realize the aspirations of the people. We feel we are better set to give the state its aspiration better than the parties that are present here in the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In fact, we should give them all a big hand because they've all stuck to the 5-minute deadline, and it's quite remarkable. It's a good example for many other politicians in many other parts of the country, if not the world. Now, it's actually open season. You have to essentially, if you wish, challenge each other on a particular point that you may disagree with the other speaker on. So you may take, one may take on another one, or you may take on two, but whatever issue you raise, the person who responds will have 3 minutes. So, and I think that among the issues, if I may perhaps make it a bit easier, you may like to look at 4 or 5 issues, because there are 5 of you, there may be 4 or 5 issues. One is the issue of a clean government and corruption-free, an end to nepotism, that's one. The other is what you've described as the broken health system and a broken education system. Another is a problem with regard to drug abuse. It's just been mentioned, but it has become a major issue, I think, in the state. And finally, perhaps the issue of farmers and their rights. So please feel free to raise these points with each other. Who wants to go first?
I was last, so can I go first?
Of course you can. You're senior most, so we should let you go first anyway.
Thank you. With regards to the border dispute, I would beg to differ with my colleague from the NPP, because it was the UDP-led government in the year 2000 on the 22nd of December, under the leadership of late E.K. Maulong and the then Chief Minister of Assam, Shri Prafulla Kumar Mahanta, who had inked an agreement to return the Khasipanar inhabited villages of Block 1 and Block 2 to Meghalaya. But as history would dictate, the government was toppled, and that agreement is gathering dust somewhere in the the respective state secretariats.
Thank you, Alan, for reminding history. History is gone. The past governments, status quo, one after the other, status quo, status quo. That's why I'm saying that the National People's Party has really taken up this issue, which has created a lot of problem for the people residing in the border areas. Okay, they might have inked an agreement, maybe it is an agreement which, you know, an agreement between two governments, but this agreement which has been inked by the National People's Party-led MDA has been inked with both the state governments and the central government. And I'm repeating this. All the constituencies in the border areas, NPP will win all the seats, because the people residing in the border areas really understand that the NPP is the only party which has taken up this issue. The NPP, me myself, representing Ramrai Jerngam constituency, I have 4 areas of differences. 3 areas of differences have been solved: the Tarabari sector, the Gizang sector, and the Hayum sector. Out of all those villages, 98%, in fact, we got the extra sector, the Tarabari sector, which was never part of Meghalaya. We are so happy. And yes, there's another sector in West Khas Hills, that is the Langpi sector. The Langpi sector is a very contentious and a very important sector, where around 40 villages in the Langpi sector, come 27 February, will cast the vote in favor of the NPP, because the people living on those sectors, they know the problem very well. Not the people living in the urban sectors. The people living in those sectors know the problem, and they believe and they affirm that only the National People's Party will take up this issue because they have seen it, they have done it in reality, and yes, after 2nd March, when NPP will form the government, we'll go ahead with the phase 2. Thank you.
Let me correct what I was saying. I gave a whole list of ideas. I think that perhaps we'll stick with this issue. And if you all agree, maybe you'd, since the TMC has been very vehement in saying that we'll tear this agreement from limb to limb or from put it in the shredder, I think the TMC perhaps would like to react, and then perhaps the Congress. And I mean, there may be other issues you want to take up, but I think that this may be a good way to do this. Do you want to go first?
So I don't have privy to the entire details of the MOU that has been signed between the two governments. I think it's left to the public at large, as Bajop was saying. It's the public who has to decide, but judging from what we see and judging from what we've heard amongst the border areas, it is a give and take policy which has more giving than taking. And I think that's a critical thing, because for a government to just decide on its own, because it's a protected property, it's a protected land, so the land does not belong to the government. Logic would say that at least there should be some participation from the locals, there should be some participation from the various organizations that exist along the borders. So for a CM to just go ahead and try to solve this problem in the way that it has been solved, it is not acceptable, at least to me at large, because you don't solve a border issue in 4 months. We've seen Palestine and Israel having border issues for ages and still not being solved. And we've seen that these border issues are quite sensitive because it deals with the families at large and it deals with the people at large. So there will obviously be a lot of problems, but at least there should be participation from each and every person who got affected. That's my only say on this. I don't know exactly what the details are, but from where we see it, at least I saw it, at least in Pilangkata, there are certain places where the give and take has not been very equitable, should I say.
I think he wants to come in first. Do you want to respond first and then? Okay. You are also in the Congress one, so.
That's why I ran away from the Congress, because I'm a border politician. They could not solve.
Yeah.
2013, the Congress was in power in Meghalaya. The Congress was in power in Assam. The Congress was in power at the center. Why didn't they do it? That's the question to the Congress. Why didn't they do it? They have been ruling Meghalaya for so many years.
I think that's a question for you yourself as well.
So, you know, I am very happy. I am very happy that, you know, I have jumped ship to the National People's Party, because representing the border area, and yes, I want to repeat this. There have been some stakeholders who have gone to the High Court. The High Court has given an order also on this, that this entire MOU should, you know, the survey should stop. But when the state government appealed to the Supreme Court, the High Court order has been set aside. So the Supreme Court of India, the highest judiciary court in the country, has given that order. That is my submission.
Let's see what the TMC has to say about that. I mean, let's stay out of the judicial proceedings, because that's still sub judice. It's an issue under consideration.
As my friend, Mr. Manuel Badwar has spoken, even I might not be privy to the knowledge that our fellow panelist from NPP has, because he's representing the border area. But I did visit the border areas which were affected by the MOU. And the sense that I got from the mood on the ground was that they were not spoken to before the MOU. Why was land that was originally Meghalaya, it is our land, automatically over one night shifted to Assam? Over 33 36 square kilometers was part of Meghalaya. Out of that, we kept back just around 33, and 3 kilometers were just given away to Assam. But it was already our land. Throughout history, our land has already been given away to Assam throughout history. When we go back to
Name the villages, kindly. Name the villages.
I might not be able to name all the villages. I might not be able to name all
I
the
will name the villages. Mr. Moderator, kindly.
Let him finish. Then
I might not be able to name all the villages, but throughout history, our land stretched up to Kamakhya, up to Barpeta, it stretched to a very far extent. But throughout history, we have kept on losing this land. And that is why we cannot lose this land anymore. And that is why during previous governments, all this was at status quo, because it affects the families of people. Overnight, they cannot just become residents of another state when they own land in our own 6 scheduled areas.
may I just make one point, which is that you were saying that you had, many centuries ago there was, there was land near Kamakhya, in Kamakhya and Barpeta and so on. The border issue is not just between Assam and Meghalaya. It's between Assam and Mizoram, which we know well about, 2021, with Nagaland, of course, and also with Arunachal Pradesh. Some of these have taken a legal turn. But I think one point which has been made time and again, and I'd like you to reflect on it and the others too, is that communities need to be involved, because it's ultimately their lives, their land, not just the government's land which is at stake. So would you like to respond to that?
Regional committees were formed.
Yeah.
Regional committees were formed. The committees, they visited these border areas. And in these 3 sectors that I've said in phase 1 in West Khasiels, the Hahim sector, the villages which were in dispute, Athiabari, I've not carried anything, any book, everything is in my head. Athiabari, Salpara, Ranighat, Malapara, Moipara, Maspara, Thuraguri, Nyagalam, Madan Khilor, Khasi Salbari. These are the villages in the Haim sector which are residing in peace currently at the moment. The PMGSY road, which was stopped by the government of Assam way back, few years back, the Athiabari to Umchek, which is 6 kilometers, has been resumed, the tender has been recalled, and the people of the entire Hahim Gijang sector are very happy with this government. That is the only Hahim sector that I'm speaking. There is the Gijang sector and the Tarabari sector, Walkhead, Wangkham. These are all the villages which we got, and in the Malang sector, we got the Malang Sildubi, Dobak Gohinimara. So all these villages, that's why I'm telling my TMC friend, we will win all the constituencies in the border areas. Because he doesn't even know the villages. He said he have gone. I've been repeating to all the people. I have been repeating.
You are privileged enough to be the representative from the border area, so you will obviously know all the villages. Yes. We are not representatives of the border area, so how will we know?
That's
but
the reason.
We can sense the mood on the ground, and on the 2nd of March, we shall know who will be the winners and who will be the losers. The people will speak.
Thank you. Professor,
okay.
Do you have a point?
Regarding this, I have just this point to say. When you have this give and take policy, especially when you transfer the tribal areas, the tribal land to Assam, my only concern is what are the feelings of those people who have been parted to Assam? Because we should be sensitive enough to the problems of the people, especially the tribal people when they are transferred to Assam. And the Khasis, are they tribal in the plains of Assam? The moment they are transferred to the foreign, I would say to the government, which is not theirs, they are like being displaced culturally. They are, they are being like uprooted from the cultural environment even. And therefore, my only suggestion that when we talk about this transfer of areas, because no matter how, whether you say give and take, but if it affects those people, because we see in media those people who are crying, and we should not forget them also, even if they are minority. One life matters.
Yeah.
Excuse me. My submission to this is, and I'm not going to say much more, that I would not like my property to be taken away just because somebody signed an MOU without even discussing with me.
The MOU specifies that if land, according to the MOU, if land has gone to the state of Assam, maybe few villages, the ownership of the land still belongs to those people. Please read the MOU kindly.
Sir,
You're taking
Mr.
off the
Pyngrope.
right of the people at the end of the day.
Wait a minute. Mr. Pyngrope.
Well,
Assam land and Meghalaya land is not the same. This is scheduled land, please.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what I'd like to say at this juncture is that anything in haste is a waste.
True.
And we cannot turn a blind eye to the cries, the sufferings of our border area people, even though I will not be in a position to name the villages as Bajop has very clearly mentioned. I agree with him that in his sector, the Rambrai sector, the West Khasi Hill sector, there was a good resolution. But in the other areas which were given to Assam, those areas are crying out for justice. And that is why we have committed to reviewing the MOU. We had asked the current government to revisit the MOU, but it was turned down, and so we have no other option but to go to the people and seek their mandate so that we can review this MOU.
Thank you. Sorry, your mic's not on.
Yeah. Even the Voice of the People Party, we would like to review the MOU signed between Government of Assam and Government of Meghalaya.
Can I come in?
You can come in, but
Yes. With
Very
regards to
briefly.
the UDP,
I just want to know how are we doing for time on this round?
I'd like to ask questions on a different topic, Mr. Moderator.
with regards to UDP, you see there are some parties which are fair weather bird parties. So I would like to inform my co-panelists, the regional committee in West Khasi Hills. The chairman of the regional committee is the candidate from Maukarwat of the regional committee. The vice chairman was the cabinet minister from the UDP representing Mount Harashan constituency. But when it comes to these issues, they forget.
Well, the recommendations of the regional committee, please listen carefully. The recommendations of the regional committee was not incorporated in the MOU.
So that's I think is a critical point, and I'm pretty sure we can go on this particular issue for some time. But Manuel, do you have a point? You, of course.
I'd like to change the topic to something else, which is
You
very
have
relevant.
1 minute then. There's just 1 minute for this round, so you can.
I can continue.
Yeah, you can continue.
Since I am here representing the youths of the state, I want to put a question forward to the MDA partners, to the two panelists here from the NPP and the UDP. Where are the 8,000 plus vacant posts in the state? Why are they lying vacant and why are they not filled up? Because many of the youths are really asking this question. Can you kindly answer this?
I think we'll probably take that up in the other questions which are going to come up, because this round is almost over, I think. We have 1 minute left, and I don't think in 1 minute we can do justice to this very major issue, because all sorts of questions come up. And now, whether you like it or not, it comes to my, the questions that I want to pose. And it won't go according to the way that the initial speakers spoke, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going to do it as it were ad hoc. I think to NPP, I've read both your vision documents. both the 2018 one and the 2023-28 one. The first one was very vague. It didn't give any specifics, but here you've given a whole basket of things that you've done on the first page. The UN has recognized this, and you've got smart city, this and the other. Infant mortality, immunization of children has grown. But I want to understand one thing. What is your plan? Because this is something the Chief Minister spoke about a few months ago. What is your plan about scientific coal mining? Because the coal mining issue is a very big issue in the Khasi, Jayanta and Garo hills, all three hills. And there are different lobbies, shall we say, which speak for one side and the other. And I've got all 10 reports of the Justice Katiki Inquiry Committee. And it clearly says that 13 lakh metric tons were illegally mined since the ban. And the Chief Minister said he's committed to safe and scientific mining. But why has it taken so long to address an issue that is visible before everybody's eyes? And of course, I think that all of us would agree that the problems did not originate 5 years ago. So, but they've grown. They have not diminished. So, it's your turn.
Yes, the problem was way back in 2014 when the National Green Tribunal put a blanket ban on rat hole mining in the entire state of Meghalaya. A complaint has been lodged by few NGOs from the Dimahasao area of the state of Assam. The mining issue, the coal mining issue, is a very important issue where it involves a lot of livelihood. Many families, many people are involved in this trade, and the NPP, which has come to power in 2018, leading the coalition government, has tried its level best, and there are few licensees who have applied for the scientific mining, and we hope in the coming days that license will be issued, because this is not only a state subject, it's also a central subject. So many clearances from various departments, from forest department, from pollution board, so many clearances we have to await. So we are working on it that yes, scientific mining will take place soon. Some licensees will be getting the license soon. And yes, once the scientific mining starts, then let's hope the problems where people of Meghalaya are facing, especially in the coal belt areas, will be resolved soon.
Yeah, but one of the things is that the risk to life and limb, because I think the issue really became very major after the death of those 13 miners about 5 years ago. But everybody knew it was happening. It's a risk. I mean, for those of us who've been there, not actually climbed into the mine, but you've seen the videos of how people, young people go in, risk their lives every minute. You know, there is a as it were, a playoff, between mining for profit and the risk both to lives and the environment.
The government is committed to stop these illegalities. So in some areas where, we are not equipped, our patrolling of the Home Department is still less in these coal belt areas. So we hope that we increase more patrolling in the future to come, and
well, I think you have a situation where the High Court has asked the central forces to patrol the areas because the police are not doing their job.
Yes, we lack manpower. I admit that.
Is it manpower or is
lack
it
of political will?
Is it lack of will, decision making?
No, actually we are working on it. So
okay.
We hope that after 2nd March, we will put a stop on everything that is going illegally.
Okay, so I think all of us here want to see this
admitted that
happen.
illegal stuff is happening.
Okay, so now we go to the Congress. I have a very specific question. The Congress party has been in power longest in Meghalaya, both in coalition and on its own. And in fact, since I've been around for a few years, I remember the time when B.B. Lyngdoh became chief minister because of spinning a coin.
Spinning of the coin.
This, he tossed a coin, and whether it was him or Darwin Pugh. I want to look at the issue of health, because broken rural health infrastructure, this is true across the region. And the barometer, one of the barometers of a state, a society, is the good health or the lack of it, and the status of women. And that is shown, I think, very often in the MMR, the maternal mortality ratio. It's part of the SDG goals that most countries have set for themselves. Meghalaya is 197 per 100,000 live births per lakh live births. That means that nearly 2 women died in childbirth out of 1,000. So it's fallen from 266. That's a major achievement. But it's worse than Bihar. It's worse than Rajasthan. It's worse than Madhya Pradesh. All these areas are called the Bimaru states. So, it raises a question of what is Bimaru and what's not. So how do you plan if you are elected to power on your own or as a partnership with any of the parties on this platform? Minus the platform party that's not there. Yeah. How do you intend to improve this situation?
So if we look at it from a perspective of mortality rates and Bimaru states to compare it, it's not relative grading. So I don't think so to say that we are better off than this state or better off than that state even makes sense, okay? So it makes sense only from the fact that we still have a lot of women who will pass away just because they have given birth. And it's not just that parameter. I think there's a lot more other parameters that are failing our state. Parameters that probably which indicates that our health sector has deteriorated to a very large extent. Now, how would we attack issues like these? It's just a simple thing. The cost of hospitalization has gone up. The cost of medical care has gone up. Now, we have to attack the problem from that perspective. Now, when we say that free medical health services to be given to all, it could come in various ways. Either we increase the health coverage insurance plan that we have, either we have better infrastructure in place across the state, especially when it comes to CHCs and PHCs and even civil hospitals, so that people will have access to better healthcare at a much cheaper rate than it is today. A lot of people still don't like to go to hospitals, especially in rural areas. So we need to at least encourage them to go to these PHCs and CHCs, which probably will have even better facilities to facilitate all that. Right now, the problem is it boils down to money again. So when a state does not have enough internal revenue, and the revenue of the state in comparison to other smaller states like ours is far, far behind, then obviously the state has so much revenue leakages. And that revenue leakages that is happening is hampering everything in our state. Forget about just health. It's hampering our education sector, it's hampering our jobs, it's hampering the PWD department, it's hampering everything. So as long as the state does not have money, because we're a poor state at the end of the day, and we're poor on 2 levels. We're poor from a public's perspective in terms of our BPL rising, and we also poor from a government's revenue perspective. So we continue to go on begging bowls to the center and ask them for everything that we want to do. But if we have the revenue, the 2,900 revenue is ridiculous for a state like us. A state like Sikkim has a revenue generation, internal revenue generation of an excess of 4,500 crores. And they're not even 1/3 the population of ours. So if we get a better revenue stream in terms of internal revenue, then believe it or not, the health infrastructure can increase many folds, in fact, just to improve it.
One of my friends in Nagaland says that, we'll move from this subject, but says that one of the ways revenue generation for small states, hill states, can be is by paying income tax. and the money stays within the region. Now, you don't have to answer that point. It's a point he makes, and I think there is some value in examining it and not rejecting it out of hand. Because you would essentially, the people would have ownership of the state, you know.
No, I don't believe so much in income tax, and even in the country at large.
No, I'm just telling
I don't
you
think
what.
So income tax contributes to the largest share of our
No, but
revenue generation
people-
from a country perspective also. It's around
Well,
4 to 5%.
in that case, you'll have to tax other things as well.
Yeah, I believe
So
that
that's
maybe
the
we
other
could
thing.
have a bigger GST and make it parallel, and you
But
know.
there are some people who they think the current GST is completely wonky. Anyway,
Not that we
maybe-
tax all items,
Yeah.
but the luxurious items
Should be.
probably yes, it should be, so that at least we have an umbrella way of increasing. See, our state, even from the 2,900 crores, 2,000 crores come from GST alone. So because GST, there's no way of leaking, right? So the money keeps on coming. But from other sectors like mining and so on and so forth,
Yeah,
the
there
leakage
is
is
no-
humongous, and the leakage is ridiculous, in fact. So there are parties who are making merry out of it, yeah,
I'm very
and there are
glad you're-
politicians who are making merry out of it.
I'm very glad you're pointing that out, because I think there
I think
is-
the medical healthcare system will only improve if we ourselves as a state start generating better revenues and not allow such looting to happen. And that is one of the biggest thing that we need to do. Once the corruption comes, and I think the medical healthcare system will improve drastically, because we'll be able to at least sustain and improve the medical infrastructure, pay our doctors better, get even more doctors even if we don't have one, and probably even having our own medical college that has been talked about so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. This, of course, since I also work in the area of health, you know,
Yes, sir.
nutrition, gender, issues of early marriage, all these are factors in the MMR
See, as
process.
far as
Sorry, I'll have to stop
as
you
far
there.
as far as
I'll have to stop you
okay.
there. I need to go to Dr. Myrboh, because, you know, essentially yours is a new party.
Yeah.
It's, what, 2 years old, less than 2 years old?
It is 1 year.
Yeah, testing the waters in a way.
Yeah.
And you, both in your opening remarks and the vision document, you hearkened to the vision of the founding fathers. You know, it was a better time. I was there, incidentally, when Meghalaya became a separate state, or when the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi inaugurated the state, the semi-autonomous process. And your document speaks of the issue of, as you said, nepotism and corruption. Well, how is the VPP going to tackle this issue when it's not going to be able to even form the government? Maybe you hope to be influencing the government, but suppose, I'm just saying, suppose you don't win a single seat. Will you be able to influence this issue outside of, how do you plan to sustain it?
You're looking at the worst scenario of not winning in the seat, but we are looking at the good scenario. Though I should refrain from saying the best, but at least good scenario. In the sense that, we believe that we will do well. We have tried our best, and I have no doubt about it. And we can see the response of the people. They are responding to this call. But when you talk about this, yes, we are, I agree that we have the disadvantage of being short in numbers, because we fielded only 18 candidates. But I would like to say that when we have the members in the government, or even in the opposition, in the government we will try to ensure, we will try to influence the government, as you said, that this good governance should be in place. And in fact, before joining the government also, we will have the terms and conditions, because we are the principal party. We will not join the government simply for the sake of power, because our ultimate purpose is to serve the people's interest. It is better to be in opposition, and check the government from the position if those conditions are not accepted by the, by the larger partner or the bigger political party. I beg to differ with people saying that, especially those who joined the NPP in the recent times, they said that we are left dried, on land, without being in power. We have nothing. But I believe that as a responsible political party, a very strong and effective opposition also is very important. If everybody joins the government, then the government can do whatever it likes without being checked. And this is a very dangerous proposition.
Well, this is very interesting because come March 2nd, some of you will be in opposition, some of you will be in government. Not everybody can be in government and not everybody will be in the opposition. So good luck, and we wait to see how the dice falls and how you carry on this commitment to a clean government, whether you're inside or outside government. Now, sir, to the UDP, I think there are some sensitive issues we do need to address and look at. For instance, the ILP, the issue of bringing the Khasi and Garo languages to the 8th schedule, which are very important issues. The ILP has been on and off for quite some time. It's been a major issue here. How do you plan to bring this to a logical conclusion? Because the impact of some of these, for instance, something like the ILP, and I'll speak as somebody who's independent, I'm not seeing it as an insider or an outsider, is it does impact people's view of an area, especially when it comes to tourism. Because tourism depends and thrives on free access. And I think the critical issue is peace, not how So this is an issue I think we all have in different parts of the region have to tackle and deal with. But how are you going to deal with the ILP? Because that is in everybody's manifesto.
Correct. See, the ILP
and the languages.
Yeah, the ILP that the United Democratic Party envisages is that one which we would aptly term as EILP. It's not the ILP of the olden age where you need to visit the license offices in various state headquarters or even in the state of Meghalaya where you need to fill in an application. We are talking about an ILP where from your Android mobile phone you can finish all your necessary documentation, and while you're on while traveling itself, your ILP will be granted. It's more akin to like how you register in a hotel when you check in. So that perception that once ILP is implemented, then you'll have to go through the whole rigmarole of applying and then getting someone who is well connected to get you the ILP. That is not what we envisage. What we envisage is something that will be of easy access, but this is necessary for the protection of the indigenous people of the state. So far as the inclusion of the Khasi and Garo languages in the 8th schedule, we will pursue it with all our might to ensure that if a language like the Boro can be included, I don't see why the Khasi and Garo languages cannot be included.
Have you received any of you have received any responses from the central government indicating a willingness to look at this issue?
Well, the only response we have got is that it is being examined.
That can mean anything.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, sir. To the Trinamool Congress, I want to actually come back to the whole border issue because that is one of the main agendas of the Trinamool Congress, that you will, this is something which is unjust, unfair, and you will trash it completely, throw it into the rubbish bin. But how are you sure that that approach will not lead to another kind of standoff as took place in the end of last year in November? Because I sometimes tell my Naga friends, we need goodwill in the region, not more ill will. There's enough ill will. And one thing, from those of us who've lived over a few years, a bit older than you, one basic thing. In life, you can make many mistakes. You can change spouses, you can change boyfriends, you can change girlfriends, but you can't change your neighbor. You know, the neighbor is going to stay. So you need good relations with your neighbor, because it's terrible to have bad relations with a neighbor, larger or smaller. So how would you ensure good relations to not just a solution? I'm not asking about a solution, but to ensure connectivity and enabling supply chains, like when you had the closure for nearly a week or 10 days last November. Everything got stuck, you know, there was no fuel coming, there was no food coming, you know, vegetables here were rotting because people weren't buying them, etc. I saw that, I was here at that time. So how would you deal with this?
Thank you. Since the border MOU has been signed, we have seen a lot of resentment from the people from the border areas and from the other areas of the state. And unfortunately, we have experienced even a very tragic incident like Mukro, where we lost precious lives due to a high-handedness of the Assam government and calling the residents of our state, the residents of that area, the neighbors, calling them terrorists and calling them illegal tree smugglers. So from TMC, our stand is very clear. If the people choose to elect us as the next government, we shall revoke, because our stand is clear. We understand the sentiments of the people. We put it very clear towards the people that we will revoke the border MOU. So if the people, let the people decide. It is a democracy. If the people decide that yes, we want the border MOU to be revoked, they will vote TMC in as the next government. And few days after we form the government, we will revoke the border MOU.
For that, you'll have to also go to the center. And the TMC doesn't have the most wonderful relationship with the center.
But from our end, from the government's end, we shall make it very clear that we will not accept the MOU that was signed between the two governments, between the MDA government and the BJP government in Assam and Meghalaya. And we will make it clear that we will revoke this MOU.
Okay, thank you. That's actually the end of my round of questions. And now we go to the a more interesting area, which is questions from the floor. And there are some questions which have come from various groups in the past, which have sent. I'm trying to find that piece of paper. Let me see if I got it. And also, would you send the chits around for people if they want to ask questions? Okay, there are the others which had come, and I'm just trying not to knock this over, this stand. Oh, yes. So we have a number of questions from the floor, and there were some questions from special invitees. So I'll go to the questions from the invitees first. And the first question is to the NPP. I'm choosing the party, so not the questioner. And what has your party done to promote and protect the rights of differently abled people?
In the past 5 years, we have seen that the people with disabilities, you know, the government has tried its level best to bring policies for them. And yes, our leader, Conrad Sangma, the Chief Minister, has a vision for them. Since we, as the party, we were in a coalition government, and there were so many ups and downs these past 5 years. But yes, after 2023, we have a great plan for them, and we want to bring so many platforms for them, that we uplift them, especially the persons with disabilities in the coming days.
Okay, well, we'll look for very specific initiatives because that's a very vague statement. It's very laudable, but it's very vague. So I'm sure there will be very specific things. Okay, there is a question which has come up on climate change and protecting biodiversity, that the government is pushing monocropping, and how will the party, your party, revive shrinking biodiversity, shrinking polluted rivers in Meghalaya? And that I'm putting to the UDP, because you are a partner in this government.
As a partner in the government, we had very little say since the department in question was being held by a minister for just a short while. But as a party, we endeavor to take up climate change to the best possible level so that it does not affect the environment per se, especially what we have experienced in East Jaintia Hills and other coal mining belts in the state. We are committed to availing the schemes from the central government, wherein high-tech nurseries are being given so as to redevelop the abandoned mines and make them habitable as well as environmentally friendly.
Okay, that's a very interesting point, but I'll perhaps come back to that. But since this is the audience questions, there is one which says, suppose your party is elected to power. What is the first legislation that you will legislate after being elected? Your options include education, land, revenue, and employment. And that I want to put to the Trinamool Congress.
Can you please repeat the question?
What is the first legislation, the first law
options
that your party would legislate when elected? The options include, the options you can choose your priorities. You don't have to talk about the border issue again.
As a party, we have made it very clear. Anybody who wants to read our manifesto, you can go through it. Our vision.
It's a long manifesto.
Our vision for the state is very clear in every single sector. But our flagship scheme, the WeCard, the Meghalaya Financial Inclusion for Women Empowerment, and the Meghalaya Youth Empowerment schemes, these are the two flagship schemes that we intend to first deliver to the people of the state, because we feel that this will start a chain which will grow, which will create a chain reaction like WeCard. Suppose WeCard, 1,000 rupees per month to a single, to a mother in every household. This money will be spent. When this, it means it will increase the spending capacity of a household. When the spending capacity of a household is increased, it will increase the demand in the market. And when the demand in the market is increased, automatically our economy will grow. We are the poorest state in the country, and these schemes intend to create these chain reactions which will take our state to where it deserves to be.
Thank you. That's, again, an interesting thought, and it will be more interesting to see how you actually implement it, because the devil is always in the details. I want to come to the Congress, Manuel. COVID, the pandemic, I think throughout the world has highlighted the problem of mental wellness, the need for greater attention to mental wellness. And I think all of us, if we think about it personally, have all suffered in some way or the other, children who don't connect with other children after a long period of isolation. Mental wellness in the state, to deal with it, inadequate resources, personal infrastructure. How will you bridge this gap?
See, it has nothing to do with COVID. I think a human mind has an uncanny ability to bounce back.
It just made it much more pronounced.
Okay, it made it much more pronounced. So we are a very unhappy state, okay? As far as happiness index is concerned, we are one of the last. Depression is a serious concern when it comes to the youth at large in the state, which is still not recognized yet. But I have this firm belief that all these kind of mental illnesses are also related to unemployment. The fact that a kid has graduated well from school and from college and still not being able to get a job after many years of being at home is also a major concern for our citizens at large. COVID, yes, has aggravated it to a large extent. There's no denying about the fact, because many of them are being cocooned in their own little spaces that they have at home. And we need to tackle that. But I think as a policy or as a government's initiative, it has to be holistic in nature, not necessarily only COVID related. I think mental health and happiness is a major factor which probably has to be taken seriously, and if the Congress do come into power, will take it seriously. It's an important thing that has to be integrated in our social systems. It could be in a church. We have to have counseling classes and so on and so forth. It could be in schools. We have counseling, and especially urban-centric counseling centers are very, very critical and important. Apart from that, I think social activities that has started to spring up in today's world, like especially tournaments like crickets and tournaments like various things like that, should be the order of the day. We should have much lesser time being spent on small screens. We should have more time being spent on social interactions, and I think there should be a concerted effort from everybody at large, including the NGOs, and stop just fighting for unnecessary things. But this is a very major issue. I think even from the government and everybody, we need to put our hands together and walk this and walk the talk. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's, again, very important points, but I would add that in addition to urban counseling centers, you need counseling centers in rural areas, because those are completely unreached. I mean, the health infrastructure in Shillong and places like this is reasonable. You know, you can get access to good health treatment here, but in the rural areas, like in many other states, it's really challenging. I'm not requesting you to make an intervention, but I will now turn to our professor. On youth policies, there's a question. What measures should be taken to create more employment, improve the scope of the youth policy?
Yes, youth is very important, and we have to address their issues. And one of the important, ways in which we can address the issue affecting the youth is we have to change the educational system, where we have to stress more on skill and vocational courses. This is where we are lacking, and in fact the educational system that we have in our state is more of general education, and the government is spending more and more on that, and we are forgetting about the skill and other professional courses. And we will, as I said, that we cannot run away from the private sector. The private sector is the reality, and the government cannot really create jobs on its own, and therefore we have to promote investment from outside the state or within the state, and we have to create the environment which is conducive for investment. And also, from the party, we want to promote entrepreneurial skill and even the financial assistance to the youth, and make the state a state which is conducive for the youth to grow. And as I said again, in order for for the youth to grow, or to create more opportunities for the youth, you should have the rule of law. Because when we have the rule of law, the economy is thriving, and when the economy is booming, then the youth will be able to benefit. Otherwise, without law and order, is going to be very difficult. For example, in the last time,
You have
Okay.
a minute.
Last time when we, just to show an example, when we had the problem here, some organization had the procession and, there was some beating on people. It affected, the tourism, for at least a week. And such kind of a situation we should prevent if we want that our youth should prosper.
Okay, how are you doing for time? Are we, I don't even know what the time is, so. What time is it? I can't hear you. It's 2:45? Oh, it's 7:45, my God, we've overshot. There is one question which I want all of you to, I know that you have to leave, but there's one question which is here from the audience, which you actually touched on it. I want all of you to respond to it. What can be done to improve the safety of non-tribals? I think this is an issue, the safety of non-tribals. So whoever
shall I
wants to start,
I'll
you
start.
have to go. So
Yes, sir, can I
yeah,
start?
please.
See, it's, I think first and foremost we should integrate our society. My perspective about this is like we have to take examples from our neighboring state. As you said, that we have to have good relations with them. Bihu is a festival which is celebrated by all, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, or something like that. And by the fact that they have such a festival, they've been able to integrate the entire populace together. And in Meghalaya, we still don't have something like that. Every religion celebrates their own religious beliefs and so on and so forth, but there's no such thing that integrates us together. So when it comes, first and foremost, when we have to attack the safety of the non-tribals are concerned, I think we need to understand first that we need to integrate our society together. Because as of right now, it's extremely fragmented. Every religion and everything, they follow each and their own. And there's no peace even amongst our own, everybody has their own ways of celebrating things, and there's no such thing that is cohesive in nature. So I think Arts and Culture Department that has existed in the state for so long needs to look at it in a very, very, very serious way, and there should be a state policy which forms this integration, and it should be a long-term kind of an approach which cannot be done overnight, but then over a period of 15, 20 to 25 years, this thing has to come together so that at least everybody feels as if we're Meghalayan at large, and not just that I'm this and I'm that. So that is more important for me, at least from where I see it, from a policy perspective.
Yeah, and I think in this, I think communities need to be involved, because it's not the government which can do this. It is the people who will bring it together.
But the government should have a game plan.
Structure.
Yeah, should have a game plan and a policy around it.
Well, I don't want to hold you up, but I just want the others.
Can I be excused then?
Can listen to the others, and then
Sure,
we can, because this is going to be like your parting shots.
Sure.
Because we won't have a wrap-up comments from each of you. You've been standing on your feet for 1.5 hours or a bit more than that, so have I. So please.
As my friend has said, it is very important for us to be integrated. We are already politically integrated, but we have not, as a country, become emotionally integrated. We still see too much differences. These differences stem out from a long history of conflict, a long history of differences. But I think it is time now. The way forward is to make sure that everybody gets the quality education that they deserve. Only a few sections in society in our state get the kind of education that they deserve. This is what our party intends to bring by making a model school in every constituency, which will make sure that in these schools there will be a quality education for all, where everybody, every citizen in every household can reach out to these schools and be educated in these schools. That way their mind opens up. When their mind opens up, then we see beyond our differences to become emotionally integrated. This simply will get all these differences will just automatically go away. It will not happen overnight. It will happen over a period of time. But I truly believe this is the way forward.
Thank you. Mr. Vinno?
Yes. With regards to the safety and security of the non-tribal inhabitants of the state, I would say we have come a long way and it is much better than what it was before. We are just going through a phase. Like my colleague Dr. Myrboh had pointed out, the recent happening wherein certain non-tribal inhabitants of the state were beaten up during the course of a procession, and then the resultant effect of the breakdown in the tourism market. You see, the economics of the things will dictate that their security will be by far and large much better. However, I also concur with my colleague from the TMC that though we are politically integrated in certain sections of the state, the emotional integration which was there in the past had dissipated in course of time, and since we're going through this phase which is normal with any other state in the country, and I think by far the non-tribals in Meghalaya are better poised in terms of safety and security than other northeastern states per se. And for that matter, even us indigenous from this part of the country are not as safe as we used to be in the mainland of the country. So I think we are evolving. In course of time, things will develop because value education, which is a very important thing that is missing in many schools, though some schools have it in their curriculum, that has to be brought about in a very substantial manner so that, you know, values are imbibed into the coming generation, wherein dignity of labor is imbibed, then respect for each other, respect for fellow human beings, and cutting across the differences that he had rightly pointed out, and working towards more common things that help us evolve to be better humans.
Thank you.
We are a minuscule population as tribals. We have many NGOs who have come up for the contentious issue of the ILP. Even our party has passed a resolution with other coalition partners in the August House to implement ILP in Meghalaya. We have seen a statement coming from a BJP leader, just I think 1 day back, that elect them to power and they will give us the ILP and the 8th schedule for the language. So I request the center, this disparity among tribals and non-tribals occur because the youths of the state, we are a very minuscule population. We are not against genuine non-tribals. We are against the illegal infiltration from other countries. So to protect the non-tribals in the state, I feel that youth exchange programs should take place between different communities, especially in the school level, at the college level. And yes, I request the BJP not to just lure the people of Meghalaya by telling, vote them to power and they'll give ILP. Means they are ready to give the ILP. Are they blackmailing us? We are not fools. We have requested them. We have requested them for an ILP. The whole assembly, all the 60 members in the August House have passed a resolution. So basically, I think once ILP is granted, there'll be an end to all these violence in the state. Yes, in the past few years, there has not been any loss of lives. And we hope in the coming 5 years, the NPP government will give protection for the genuine non-tribals of the state of Meghalaya. And yes, since we are a minuscule tribal population, we have to respect the tribal identity that we are trying to preserve, our culture. And most importantly, I feel that, yes, with all, there should be, from the sports department, there should be games that, between different communities, that, they should host games so that they mix with different communities and know each other. And yes, I feel these are the issues from the NPP.
Thank you. One thing, before we come to the professor, one thing I would like to say is that you're a majority in Meghalaya. You may be a minuscule minority compared to the rest of India, but you're a majority in Meghalaya. Others are a minority. Others who are a minority here are a majority elsewhere. That's how demographics works. And so it's important. And there are political powers outside of here which have a different approach to these things. So it's important that this issue is recognized for what it is and accepted, and that there is a real effort to build good relations between communities. Because, you know, what happens here impacts other states. It's viral. It goes around the world, you know, just because the instrument we hold in our hands is not power, but it certainly gives a lot of information or disinformation out. So, Professor, you have the last word.
On the same issue.
Well, I think if you want to add on the same issue, that's fine.
Okay.
And because we have to wrap up now.
Before, we had a cordial relations between the tribals and the non-tribals in Meghalaya. But that cordial relation was disrupted because of the feeling of insecurity. And that feeling of insecurity has led to the, I would say, the untoward happenings in our state. And to remove this lack of cordial relation between the tribals and the non-tribals is very important for the government of Meghalaya and the government of India also to address the issue together. And here the main issue is the issue of ILP. And I see that if ILP is granted, say, way back in the 1970s or 80s, all these kind of untoward incidents would have been avoided. And however, I would say that in order to prevent this kind of problem, we need to empower our youth economically, because economic deprivation would lead to problems, and this will have a spillover on to other issues also, and therefore they blame the other communities. And therefore, we in our state, we see that we have too many organizations, and this very fact that we have too many organizations tells us that something is wrong. And the wrong with that is the governance. And therefore, we need to improve governance, and our youth should concentrate on what they are supposed to do and not to form so many organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. The last point is that we need to improve governance. I mean, I don't think anybody will disagree with that. I mean, I don't think even the NPP will. So we'll close it here. I mean, we have, wish we had more time, but I'll only end with a request to everybody that use your vote wisely, to all here. It's a constitutional right, just as it is your constitutional right to appeal for votes. It's a constitutional right for them to vote well and wisely. And may the best parties or candidates win. And I want to say something personal here. My mother was from Nagaon. She married my father. They moved to Shillong. My father passed away many years ago. He was the head of the TB hospital. My mother decided to stay on in Shillong and stay here. And by returning to Shillong, I'm honoring her commitment to Shillong. So, and I think to the audience, I thank you all. You've been a wonderful audience in a very chilly evening. I'm glad you're all clad. But I wish to especially thank the Hill Youth Collective, led by Finda, CM, by Adrian Longbury. Where's Adrian? Adrian, wave your hand. And Meshwa, Marco, over there. So, and the wonderful team of volunteers, you're all standing, just wave your hands, whoever are the volunteers. So you take a big hand, and I thank you all. And I hand it over to Nafisa.
Ladies and gentlemen, On behalf of the Hills Youth Collective, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for taking time out from your jam-packed schedule and making it here on this working day to be part of the program. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to Dorbar Shnong Malki and Malki Sports Club for permitting us to utilize Madan Malki for conducting the event. Our gratitude to the Deputy Commissioner and Superintendent of Police, East Khasi Hills District, for permitting us to hold this event, to empower the voters of our state through awareness, and to all of our friends and members of the general public who have supported us in our endeavors. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Sinjuk Kinong Sinshar Shnong Kabri Uhunyotra for their valuable assistance and guidance. On behalf of the collective, I extend a sincere vote of thanks to the various Dorbar Pulun and respective Shnongs, as well as the Sengkhasi of Jayao Pulun, Laimkra Pulun, Maulai Town Dorbar, and Nongthamai Pulun for their encouraging support. My special and heartfelt thanks to our esteemed moderator, Mr. Sanjoy Hazarika, for making himself available despite his busy schedule to moderate the debate, adding much depth and meaning to the proceedings through his research and immeasurable experience. An enormous thanks to all representatives of the different invited political parties for their kind cooperation and participation, without which this program would have not been possible. We are grateful to the support of our sponsors, Meghalaya Life, Singhania Printing Press, Party Decorators, GR Mangal, and our refreshment partners, which include the Beehive Cafe and Jasmine Bakes. I would also like to thank the various media for covering this debate today. Last but not the least, a big thank you to the real unsung heroes of this debate, whose hard work, sheer determination, and sense of love and responsibility to our state for organizing this event to promote a culture of healthy dialogue and discussion for a better tomorrow. Thank you. Excuse me, a picture will be taken right now, so can you please